Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Linda Schexnayder. Let's get started. Hey, so today we're going to brine our chicken, tenderize it, and we're going to leave it in the refrigerator for 2 days before we cook it. So I'm going to show you how to do this. So I picked up my chicken at my local store. Got it for about $9.23. These are chicken breasts. And I picked it up at the local market in my area. I'm going to rinse this off first. I like to rinse my chicken off, so I'm going to rinse that off and then I'll be right back. So now that I rinsed off my chicken and it's ready to go, we're going to get started. So let's put this aside. Okay, so what you're going to be needing today is you're going to be needing 2 tablespoons of salt, a 1/4 cup of sweetener, your preferred sweetener. I'm using Truvia, or your substitute sugar would be your regular sugar, and that would be 1/2 cup. If you're going to stay with a regular sugar, not both, but you'll use regular sugar cane or your regular sweetener. I use Truvia. And this is a 1/4 cup and 1/2 cup. 1/2 cup. Next, you're going to use 4 cups of warm water. You'll need a mixing tool, so I'm using a whisk. You're going to need some olive oil, about 1 tablespoon. You're going to need your salt. I'm using sea salt, 2 tablespoons. And this is my Truvia that I'm using. You'll also need a large Ziploc bag, very large Ziploc bag. This is where you're going to store your chicken, in here. Okay? You'll also need 1 large bowl. And that's about it. And here I have microwaved a warm 4 cups of water. And it's kind of a little warmer than I want it to be, so we're going to continue, but I'm going to let it cool for a little bit. You want it to be room temperature. This is kind of scalding hot. But the reason why I'm doing this is because we're going to add sugar. I'm using Truvia. You could add whatever sugar you want, your preferred sugar, but I'm going to stick with my Truvia. So I'm going to use about 1/4 cup. This is usually much richer than regular sugar, so I'm going to use less. But if you're using regular sugar, I would suggest that you use maybe 1/2 cup or so, but the 1/2 cup versus the 1/4 cup. That's for regular sugar. This is for substitute sugar. You could even use less than this if you prefer less. But this is just going to tenderize my chicken. So I'm going to add it to my water. I'm going to take some sea salt, and you can use whatever salt you like to use. I'm using sea salt, and I'm going to use a couple tablespoons of this and add it to my water. too. Then I'm going to add about a tablespoon of olive oil. 1 tablespoon of olive oil. And I'm going to pour that right in there. Then all I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a little stir. I'm going to set this aside for about a few minutes, maybe about 5 minutes, since mine is a bit too hot. I don't want to cook my chicken. So I'm going to put this aside and I'll be right back. Okay, so let's take our bowl and our large Ziploc bag. We're going to take our clean chicken, set it in there. I have 4 slices of chicken. I have 4 large chicken breasts that I'm placing in here. And this is pretty much how you do it. And then, now that your water is cooled down into medium, luke medium, I'm going to give it another stir. Another stir here before I pour it into my chicken. Then I'm going to pour the water, the sugar water, into my bag. Then I'm going to seal it. I'm not going to put it into the fridge right now because it's still a little warm. So I'm going to wait a while, and then once it's cooled down, I'm going to place it into the refrigerator. So now that my chicken has cooled down and it's the right temperature, I'm going to seal it back and place it into the fridge. Make sure that you seal this tight, because if you don't, you will have a mess in your hand in your refrigerator. That water is going to get everywhere and it's going to contaminate all of your food. So please make sure you seal your Ziploc. That's why we keep it in this container, to keep it more sturdy inside this container so it doesn't spill. So this is where we want to stick it. Okay, so let's go put it in the refrigerator. Okay, let's see where we can put this chicken. Looks like there's some space, as you can see right here. So I think I'm going to set it here. This will be a good spot for it. It's out of the way. So let me go ahead and grab that chicken. Make sure that you tuck these guys in so they're not out of the bowl. We don't want any water seeping out into your food or all over your fridge, and it's a mess to clean up. So once it's in there, you're set to go for 2 days. Now, what's great about this marinating the chicken this way is that when you go grill your chicken on the stove, you're going to get a nice juicy chicken. It's going to be so full of flavor when you then marinate it with whatever seasoning you want. But be careful that you don't over season the salt, since we're already marinating with salt, that you don't overdo it. So it can end up being too salty of a chicken. So anyways, let's take it to the next step and close the refrigerator. Okay, so we'll see you in a couple days. Meanwhile, my chicken is marinating for the next 2 days. I'm going to enjoy me a nice cup of hot Tazo tea. So delicious. This is the orange cinnamon tea. It is just so wonderful. Wow. Just delicious and amazing flavor. Okay, so I have my brine chicken here, and it's still sitting in the water. So let's get ready to prep it for seasoning. Let's take the chicken and lay it on a dry paper towel. Try to get enough of the water off, the brine water off the paper towel, and pat it over it. Just a little bit more. I just want to make sure that it's dry. Okay, so let's just pat it a little bit more, and this looks good. So now let's get cooking. Okay, we're going to be using some olive oil for our pan and our chicken. Okay, let's turn the stove on high. You have to have it on high. You want it very hot. Let's bring the pan over, and let's take a spatula and move the oil all over. I'm using about 4 tablespoons of oil, olive oil. Spread it all over. Cover that pan up. That looks good. Now let's add some olive oil on the chicken and rub that in. Get it in there really well. I want to get it in on both sides. So I like to rub it in together. You want to be able to have the seasoning stick to your chicken. I'm going to add a few more. You want to make sure that you dry those other 2 pieces as well. So that looks good. I'm going to go wash my hands. Okay, let's take some garlic seasoning salt. Spread a little bit of that. I did add a little extra on there. I want to make sure I had some flavor. And take some Cajun seasoning, sprinkle that on there. Just like that. A little bit of black pepper, crack it on there. I like pepper. Pepper's good, but not too much. I'm not going to do the backside with pepper because I have enough on the front. I'm just going to season it with some Cajun seasoning and a little bit of garlic salt. So let's take the Cajun seasoning, spread it on there. A little bit of garlic, my favorite. And just kind of like tab bases. You want to dab. And now you see how hot this is? The pan is very hot. You want to be very careful, but this is what you wanted. Let's put the chicken in. Want to fit all 4. Just lay them in there. Just like that. Squeeze the 4th one in. You want to push them all towards the center. Just like that. And you're going to cook these for about 7 minutes on that side before we flip them over. So it's pretty much ready right about now. So I think I'm going to go ahead and flip that. Let's take a look. Yep. This is exactly what you want to see. You want to see that golden crust, that golden look on the outside and the back side of the chicken. Just a little bit of a crust. This is what you want. And as you can see here, they all cooked evenly. And in here, you're going to notice the chicken inside. There's about less than a 1/4 inch already cooked, but the center is raw. That's okay because the steam is going to cook it through evenly. And we're going to cover it later. So let's just flip the chicken now. Flip them all on the other side. We're going to cook them for another 5 minutes. But as you can see, this is about 1.5 inches thick or 1 1/4 inches thick. So that's why it has to cook 5 to 7 minutes, mostly 7 minutes. But if yours is skinnier or thinner, you want to cook it for much less. Okay? Just remember that. So the thicker, the more time you want to cook the chicken. No more than 7 minutes on that one side. And then you're going to let it sit for another 5 minutes right now. And then we're going to be able to cover that with the lid. After the 5 minutes, you're going to go ahead and pull it off to the side, turn down the stove to low, bring it back, and then we're going to be covering it with the lid for another 5 minutes. This is what you want to do. You want to make sure that you turn it down low, cover the chicken up, and leave it for 5 more minutes. Actually, we're going to leave it close to between 5 and 15 minutes. Then we're going to check the chicken. This looks great. This is what you want to see. It looks juicy. It's golden. Flip it over. There's a crust on the back side. Take it off. Turn off the stove and bring it back and cover it back up. Let it sit for a good 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, it's going to be ready to cut, and it's going to be juicy as can be. Okay, this looks great. Let's check it out. So let's take a chicken breast and let's cut into it and see how it is. That feels tender. Slice is really easy. There's juice here. Definitely very juicy chicken. So tender. I'm going to show you a close-up in just a second. Look at that steam, the juice. Let me take a piece here, bring it up to you closer. Look at that. Look at how juicy that is. It's like smoking a turkey and you get that juicy, juicy meat. Well, the same thing with this chicken. It's just amazing. Look at that. Look at the juice. Look at the tenderness of this chicken. 1.5 days of marinating in the brine did this. This is amazing. I'm just so excited about this recipe. I'm glad I'm able to share it with you.
Oh my God, this chicken is amazing. It's delicious and juicy and so tender. I can't believe it. And it's just a day and a half of marinating. It was perfect. I can just eat it all by itself, just like this. Amazingly delicious. Look at that. Look at that juice. See if you can see it, if I can focus in on it. But do you see that? That is very juicy. It is melt in your mouth juicy. The flavor of the Cajun and the pepper with the garlic seasoning is incredibly flavorful. You have to try this, definitely. It is so delicious. I'll cut the sides so you can see better. Look at this. So, I turned off the stove and I let it sit for 10 minutes on its own, covered, after I turned off the stove so that it still continued to cook. And this is just amazing. It is the most juiciest, tender chicken breast you'll ever have. Believe me, trust me, try this recipe. Just incredibly juicy. I'm just so amazed by this. I just came up with this recipe and it definitely works. I told you I would share good recipes, and this is definitely a good recipe to share. So stay tuned and follow me, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that little bell on the bottom. Remember, all notifications, and have a great day.
So stay tuned, we are going to cook some yummy Brussels sprouts. That's right, you heard me right, yummy. If you haven't tried these, you'll have to try them. Never say never, but these are really, really delicious. Okay, you want to make sure that your stove is on medium-low, not high. So let's take the pan, add about 3 or 4 tablespoons of olive oil. Give it a little swirl. Be sure the pan's covered completely because you don't want your Brussels sprouts to stick. Now, I just wanted to let you know that I have put my Brussels sprouts in the microwave, but I put in my bowl, I added some water, about maybe 4 tablespoons of water, covered it up, and I steamed them in the microwave for about a minute. This is what they look like, a vibrant green color. This is really the way it should look. Now that my pan is very hot, let's put these Brussels sprouts in. Okay, let's take our seasoning salt again, garlic seasoning. I like to use the brand Lowry seasoning. As you can see the label, this is the best brand to use. Let's sprinkle it all over, a decent amount. And let's give it a swirl, a stir. Let's get all that flavorful seasoning blended into our Brussels sprouts. What we're looking for is we're going to be looking for a nice golden toasted back. This is going to be our goal. So you want to give it that nice golden look. I'm kind of just flipping them on its side, and then I'm kind of stirring it around. Okay, let's let it sit for a minute or so while they get nice and golden on the back side. You want to monitor these though. You don't want to walk away from them and then forget about your Brussels sprouts, because then they'll burn. So, as you can see, they're starting to get a little bit of the golden look, but they're not quite done. Cook them for a few more minutes, and we'll wait and see how they look. Okay, in about 40 seconds or so, I'm going to go ahead and stir these up. They look like they're about ready to be stirred. So, let me get the spatula, give it a little stir, mix them up. But do you see the golden look? They got that golden texture to it. So we're just about there. Kind of just moving them to the center of the heat. So if you're wondering, I used about probably two cups here of Brussels sprouts, or a cup and a half. They're cut up in half. Okay, so let's cook these for about another minute, and they should be done. So let's give these a little stir. Look at that. This is what you're looking for. Just that golden little crust on the bottom of the Brussels sprouts. This is perfect. So we're done here. It's time to serve up my dinner. Cut me a couple pieces of the chicken breast. Maybe about 3 slices, and then a side of Brussels sprouts. Look at that, just tender. You'll have to try this recipe. It's just an amazing recipe. You can't go wrong. My side of Brussels sprouts. If you like my video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the little notification bell that says all notifications. Thank you, and have a fabulous day. So I'm also dieting, so I'm prepping my meal for the next few days. So I'm using these containers that I got on Amazon for like $13. So I'm having it with a side salad, my Brussels sprouts, and my moist chicken. Now this is the next day. This is the next day after I cooked it, and I'm going to sample everything. This looks tender, delicious, still looks moist. Still good. Still delicious. It's just so juicy. Still has that juiciness in it. Nice side salad. But my Brussels sprouts, I'm going to dig into that and see how they taste. Look at that golden look. Still looks good. Oh yeah, the flavor's even more intense. So delicious. Very good. So I'm excited about this recipe. Hope you are too. And we will talk to you soon. I'm going to continue to eat my dinner.
Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Linda Scheck-Snyder and I'm an artist. And I'm here because I want to share what I have and I do during my spare time. And maybe you'll enjoy watching it too or learning something about it. These are my art pieces. I love photography, I love sculpting in clay, and I love working in the garden, and I also love home improvement. So I hope you'll stick around and we'll see you soon.